Good morning. Welcome to Flat Earth Early Bird number 1610. I'm your host, Arwin. And before we start the show, please don't forget to share it on any platform you deem fit. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so you know when I'm going live, which is normally 1 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekdays and 2 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekend. And please also do support me through the PayPal and the Patreon. That would be much appreciated, and I can always use the support. Right. So the weather today is quite nice actually. It's a bit cloud covered right now, but it's been very sunny. Hope that continues. It was really nice. Kind of like yesterday. Yesterday was a beautiful day, but there was a lot of wind. Seems to be a little less now, but there's also a lot of clouds out there. Right, plants are still enjoying the beautiful weather. Right. It is Wednesday, the 24th of May, 2023. Let's check the temperature. 18 degrees. Right. Yeah, still very nice. Hello, Fibroads, first in chat. Good to see you. Right, so yeah, yesterday's show was short but great. And FED, unfortunately, yeah, Nathan's computer crashed again, so it was a very short show, and yeah, kind of got lost after that. But it was great weather and everything, so I just kind of enjoyed that. Watch some stuff. I have to refresh in my own memory. What was I watching? Oh, right. Yeah, that happened. Dell went live and reviewed FED. So that happened. And it was really silly. kind of back and forthing with LSG over on Skype because he also picked up on that. Sure has some bad luck. Well, sorry, but it's doing it to himself. He keeps tinkering with it, and this is what happens. It's not the first time I've seen somebody do that. Because it never ends. I mean, it really doesn't. It never ends. Like, once you start tinkering, you get certain expectations, then you'll never be able to stop because you'll keep trying to push it. When you don't know what you're doing. No, I'm pretty sure that he is. Nathan does kind of know what he's doing. But still, it's what happens. Hello, the bad guy. Right. So yeah, that happened. Dell. Did anybody watch that? I mean, I watched only snippets of it because it was very annoying. Dell was very triggered most of it, and it just... yeah. I mean, he basically played out the entire thing about what I'm saying, how I'm saying it. That's all on target, and he just can't handle it. So, because I knew he was gonna watch it, because Dell, yeah, I mean, we were talking about him, so... he's just going by presupposition, and yeah, it's pointless. Right, so that happened. Later, also, Owen Benjamin streamed that night. Kept me up pretty long, too. But, yeah, that was a great stream. Had a lot of mail. And a pretty good, energetic vibe. Showing off his gardening and all that. Oof. Okay. Well, right, but George, do you run really big operations on your computer? Because Nathan does run like a massive amount of things, but I think he's just overdoing it. Because my computer doesn't really crash either, and I think that when I bought it, it was already kind of tinkered. It was basically the motherboard I had to replace last year in January. Like, it was basically a complete computer. He had the guy was a good tinkerer, the man from the repair shop. I'm pretty sure he was. It does that sort of thing. And I'm pretty sure he already tinkered with my motherboard, so that would be really optimal. And yeah, since I basically just replaced the motherboard of my old computer and kept everything else, it's perfectly optimized, and it like never crashes either. But that's also because I just make sure not to run too many things at the same time. Because OBS can be pretty heavy on the computer for some reason. Hey Terry306, good to see you. Knows what he's doing, my PC guy. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he had a NASA shirt on. 45, Jesus. Man, those Indian summers are just brutal. Right, so look, George, if you really think you know what Nathan is doing wrong, well, maybe give him some good advice or some like really good advanced sources for tinkering. He is open for improvement a lot. And if you have a suspicion that he's just doing things incorrectly somehow, then, well, he's not gonna stop tinkering anytime, so maybe give him some tips. Don't give me the tips, by the way. I don't care. I don't want to know about any of that shit. I care very little for overclocking. I know that it mostly just costs more electricity and more noise. You in half sleeves? What? I mean a t-shirt. My usual t-shirt. And yeah, it's a pretty nice place to visit right now. 18 degrees. It's been like 24. It already kind of feels like summer by Dutch standards, but it is not that warm yet. It might become a little warmer around June or July. Always for Nathan to say. No, that's not what I meant, George. He's not gonna send his PC. No, but just good tips or like really good instruction videos or good manuals or anything that you know will like really help. But unless you don't really know that much about it either, I don't know. Or you could try to like if you would want to go like on a what is it, Skype communication or through Discord or something, but I don't know. Ever experienced 45 degrees? Maybe one time. No, probably not. That's just a sickening heat. I think, well, yeah, maybe one, I don't know. Maybe in Spain at some point. But I don't think that much. I mean, I think that 35 is pretty damn hot. Man, weird. I feel like I almost have like a bit of pollen allergy or something. Very sneezy, and my eyes are like kind of itchy. Right. Yeah, bad guy. Yeah, me too. I mean, if it was that hot, I'd start to like look for a cave or something. Somewhere really deep underground where it's just not that freaking hot. What's that? Hello, Dr. Utker, by the way. See you. Right, so I'm gonna ask again. I guess that most of you didn't really watch it, but which one of you did watch Dells yesterday? It's probably gonna be talked about. Thought I'd like some feedback of what you thought about it, his position versus my position, and I think I've been very clear about my position with multiple shows. Dell's never reviewed those. People don't review my show except for really stupid anti-flat earthers like Sean Hawkins for some reason. Alright, George, so what do you think? I'm the only show you watch that covers FE? Really, Clutch? You don't watch anybody else? Like not even Flatsoid or FED? I'm honored and all that, but bit surprised. It's not like I'm like all encompassing with my information. I mean, I try to like give everybody always give it like the skeleton structure of everything as I basically perceive it. And that should be very comprehensible, but I mean, it doesn't contain all the details of everything. And for example, I would definitely watch FED to get the more refined, sharpened mechanical details. Like the guys, especially Nathan, just knows like all the words. I'm still basically improvising when I describe things. And I do it to a pretty high level, but Nathan, like, he knows all the words. He can just put it all together like really the highest level that I've ever heard. Better than I do. When it comes to like the details of flat earth argumentation. Now, of course, my level of argumentation reaches way beyond just the perimeters of flat earth. So that I have that advantage. I'm very mechanical approaching everything, including spirituality. And the guys don't really have that. I mean, there's like communication issues between me and FED. Because I just like talk mechanical, psychological, spiritual, and I kind of have a standard that I set in doing that, and it's a new thing. And Nathan like gets it, but a lot of them still like just protest or like bump into it, don't get it, or like frustrates them, or they just don't get it. Nathan does get it, but it's very rare that we can just like talk on that level without others disrupting us or me or whatever. Can stick them for more than 10. Whoa, okay. Well, bad guy, can you describe what it is exactly? What's pushing you away after 10 minutes? I'm kind of interested, if that's actually what typically happens. -40, Jesus. That's the same show every day. A little bit, yeah. It kind of is. I mean, it is like housekeeping. It's just something you keep doing over and over again. But I mean, there is some playing around. It's like we play with the toys every time. And hey, I'm good with that. And people figure things out while doing it. It's like you get a new insight. You fool around with this, like, hey, I didn't see that part before. So there have been a lot of development. It's just been kind of gradual, comes and goes. And it's like, oh, there's a day where everybody's inspired. Oh, all the good ideas suddenly come afloat out of everything we've been dealing with. A lot of it these days psychological. I mean, we're technically dealing more with psychological insight development than even flat earth mechanical development, because it feels like we almost got the whole thing that you can attain. Almost. Not that that means like, oh, we know the entire the content of what it's like, but just the argumentation and everything that we're going to face. I mean, it feels like we're almost there. It's all we're dealing is just with people that can't deal with it and are double speaking. That's really the thing that we're mostly focusing on, because that's what we get. Nobody's really seriously attempting to debate. And thus, psychological development, insight, seeing how this keeps going and getting worse, making predictions on what it's going to do. Right? The cognitive dissonance horizon. Yeah, the cognitive dissonance event horizon. That kind of thing. Here I cover different stuff. Yeah, but on the flat earth debate we can just cover everything. Or a lot of things. Things that I'm interested in and that I think are good subjects to learn about. I am broken? Like, okay. I wouldn't say broken. I mean, not everybody's broken. If you were broken, people that are really broken can't really admit they're broken. Because if you were broken enough, then it becomes so bad you can't face it anymore. So none of us are like that. But we're all human, and we all recognize that we have flaws, and that I put it even further, and that is like you can't really live without having flaws and challenges. And that's like part of the setup. That's part of the purpose, how things roll out, and it's what you need too. It's what your spirit needs. And I consider often that when you get here, you get to choose. You get to choose your flaws, and then you get to choose your challenges. And the challenges are often based on your flaws. Not like directly, but dealing with it often creates the perimeter in which you pick up certain talents that will give you your talent range and your motivation format to eventually face bigger challenges that are beyond your own contemporary issues. So first you pick your flaws, then you pick your challenges. I'm talking about like pre-birth, timeless argument with God, like, okay, how do you want to be? What do you want to do in this thing? And that's also why I have a strong belief, very tough, and in ways it's like, oh, look at you, you have all this and you have all that. I mean, I have my looks, I'm pretty young, I'm well articulated, I'm very expressive. Yeah, but all those things also have downsides, right? But yeah. I always regard that people that have like handicaps or like anything, tics even, or major challenges that they can't overcome, that they're all just their challenge and they are as important as they are powerful. Like they can be overcome, and it might like take an entire lifetime, and that's like the challenge. And that anything you get that might make you feel like, oh, why did God do this to me, right? That is, well, because it's the challenge. Let's see what you become out of this, how much you are spirit or how much you are this temporary matter within your mind. Because we all know or have known people in our lives, all of us, even if just through television or, well, mostly just through communities, family, know some people that have gone through something pretty extreme, or they had like an accident or something, right? And it's like they're really like mutilated or whatever, and it's like, what the fuck? But when those people like really overcome that challenge and don't become a victim, they become like really fucking inspiring. On average, have you noticed that? I'm asking you in chat. Because I've known people that were like crippled, wheelchair bound, or whatever, that would be like kind of like whiny, victim-y, and always like depressed about it. That's kind of annoying. But then there's those that like have that, and they're like, yeah, that's okay. And those guys or gals are often like really awesome for some reason. It's almost like it becomes like this good, recognizable thing or something. It's hard to explain. But people that have flaws and then overcome those flaws are almost more valuable socially, inspirational wise, than people that don't have flaws and that just don't really stand out. They don't really have a position to be anchored to. They have too much flexibility, and so they become too blurred. Don't have a real position. But if you have flaws or scars or whatever of some kind, then those things define you, force you to take a position because of the association spiritually. And then you become more specifically definable and more recognizable, more memorable. And people like things that are memorable, that kind of stay the same. It's like, oh yeah, at least that's the same. It's like it gives them better orientation in the map of people traits. Better understanding. Because if everybody's too flexible and they don't know, like, don't have a position, then it's all just a soup, and you don't know what to think about it. People that have flaws give you better orientation. It's one of the things, for example, that I really liked about Good Servant. A man that was very obviously, noticeably flawed. But he's like, as you remember, especially you, Clutch, he overcame it with all his might. And he knew it. He talked about it. Like, he knew he had these things. He knew he had like poor concentration with some things. And he was just like, yeah, but I'm going to take the challenge, God. Beautiful. I mean, really amazing. And very attractive energy sometimes. And other times he would be like, oh, I'm kind of lost and help me. Very understandable. I mean, I've had those moments. I have those moments sometimes. I deal with it better, but it's also because, well, I've got all these skills to be able to do that. I'm basically a psychologist. I can do that, and I can use it on myself, so I'm kind of lucky that way. He wasn't that lucky. Go by the mercy and advice of his friends in such times. But yeah, he was definitely a good guy, right? And so with his flaws, he was very inspiring. And that is the thing, right? If you have some kind of flaw, some kind of handicap that really stands out, you can be a victim about it and then literally be the thorn in everybody's eye, because that's the thorn in your eye. You don't want to accept it and develop what you can do despite of it, or even with it. But if you do embrace that challenge, then you stand out from the average. You become a positive, where before, without that flaw, you would have been nothing's, but yeah, you wouldn't stand out. Right? Isn't that interesting? But of course, this is, you can't force this kind of thing with some kind of black magic, right? If you're gonna literally do something to yourself, like a fucked up crazy person, to be that shit, like, oh, I got this. Yeah. But now why? Right? If you've done that to yourself, people are not gonna receive that same kind of inspiration. They're just gonna be like, you're insane, oh, it's also brave, or something. Because then they don't have to get involved. So it doesn't work that way, right? I mean, there's crazy people that do things to themselves, and they do it really more for the attention and the victimhood part of it, because that's what they end up doing. But if something happened by accident, then it's different. Then it overcame you. Then it would have been prearranged as a challenge from God with yourself before you were born. And now you have an opportunity to overcome that challenge and then be stronger after it, despite the losses. And that's, I think, a very good way to just look at it in general. It makes, like, everybody's flawed. Some people seem really flawed. But even those flaws are merely just challenges. So I'm always hopeful when I meet a new person that seems obviously challenged. It's like, yeah, but with that challenge, how are they? Do they know? Do they know how to do this? Right. Anyway, yeah. Good servant, may rest in peace. He's definitely gonna have a good time. He's deserved it. Hello, Maximus Flatius. Right, anyway. Okay, didn't expect you to say that, Clutch. But yeah. Follows his teachings, not what people say about it. Right, but I mean, like, the problem is, man, it's so freaking... It's kind of annoying. But, like, a lot of these things that are even chanted in ways are correct. It's just, like, very obviously the way they're interpreting it is, like, with the wrong mindset. They're interpreting it incorrectly. A lot of those things are, like, metaphysical. They're like spirit talk. They're esoteric. They signify really complicated spiritual things. And people just made it all literal. They basically applied their physicality assumption bias to it, and then they take all of that literal. And that's a big problem. It's just people don't know how to read it anymore. They don't have the level you require to interpret it correctly. Anyway, hey LSG, good to see you. Reciting prayers written by poets, chanting. No. That's just a prayer or poetry. When we say chanting, or when I say chanting, I think Clutch meant it in the same way. It means saying something that doesn't make technical sense in the context of what the person's meaning. He's basically just saying some magical words, which might be true, but they don't really apply. And that's chanting. Saying something you don't fully understand over and over again to try to force it. Or make people yield to it. Right, but anyway, look, let's just think about it for a second. Let's attempt this. Oh god, it's like sticking my hand in a hornet's nest, but Let's just talk about this concept. That God sent his Son so that all are forgiven. Let's attempt this. What does that mean? Right? Like, is it a person that has to undergo physical actions and that is the thing that does it? Or is it like what I suspect, really? Where's the real power of Christ? It's in the words, it's in the information, it's in the insight. A new strategy, a new way through where there was none. Right? So Jesus came, had the massive enlightenment, connection with God. I mean, if there is any connection with God to be had by a human being, then Christ really was number one with that. Right? He wasn't God, because no man is or will be God. That's physically illogical. But with him, definitely. And so to be sent as your Son, well, so that everybody will be forgiven, right? What does that mean? What could it mean? Could it mean that because of the information that he unveiled and spread, that people finally, through that methodology, through sticking to that teaching, are capable of becoming forgiven in the preponderance of their life afterward? I believe that, like, actually doing your best to stick to that side is the thing that makes you forgiven if you succeed. Because if you don't succeed, if you fall out, then it doesn't mean anything. And that's how people that fall out feel about it. Like it's all for nothing. It's been for nothing. Because it only works if you stick to the principle, but to the path. But the problem is that as you do it, there will be many people that are going to claim to stick to a path while they're constantly sabotaging the path and reinterpreting and trying to reroute it, find another way, like Paul did in the frickin' Bible. Literally in the Bible, it's there. Well, that's going to happen to you too if you stick to the path. And so there will be people that say, no, it's okay, you can do everything. You like the sins, it's all fine because this man who we claim is God was sent by himself as his Son to himself to die physically, to be slaughtered like a sacrifice, like a human sacrifice, so that whatever you're going to be doing in your life is forgiven afterward. It's like a complete Pharisaic, satanic, inside-out interpretation of the core essence of that esoteric statement, in my opinion. Esoteric statement being, yeah, the information came to us through this man, directly from God, because it is from God. The information is from God. And through that coming, we have the opportunity to be redeemed, to be forgiven. But it is through that information, through the application. It's not like something that happens no matter what you do. A guide. That's right. Because if you just think that, oh no, I'm just forgiven no matter what, well, then sins are no longer really sins. Because then sins are just fine. It's like, oh, it's okay, you could just do those things that are nasty, because in the end it's all fine. Well, if you don't think of sins as sins anymore, then you normalize that sin and thereby become a sinner and contribute to that influence. Yeah. Imitation of Christ, huh? Right. But look, when I even, that's interesting, by the way, Borders Boy. There's a book, well, no doubt there would be a book about that. Probably multiple. But I don't think that you have to literally imitate Christ's life. You don't have to, like, follow his footsteps exactly. You just have to understand the code of the spiritual technique that he applies through his words. You have to understand the words, understand where they come from, what book they are from spiritually, and then you can apply it. You can live by that spiritual book yourself, even though your life is very different. You will have flaws, you will have sins, and some might even be like you can't avoid them because of the profession or something. But you need to know that they are sins and always be careful with them. Never normalize it. And then it'll work. Because biggest part of the whole path, in my opinion, is just knowing what is sin. It's the big thing, is knowing what is sin. Like, what actually is the sin? Not about, oh, what we think it is the sin right now, but what actually is it? And there's been a lot of sins that have been very much normalized in society, and they're cranking it up. They're going the next few steps, and those steps are absolutely monstrous. And it can get worse. Yeah. Right, so yeah, a lot of it is about, do you know what sin is? And are you going to make excuses for it? Are you going to normalize it? Or are you just going to recognize, no, it's a sin. Sin has a price. Feel it out and then deal with it. And yeah. Right? It will become a real sin when you trade the sin for some, yeah, if you choose it over something that's actually better. When you sacrifice to a sin. Because then you will be more inclined to normalize it. Because you've sacrificed to it. Transgression against the law. Yeah. Well, those are the really big ones, the most ones, but you have like the things you're not supposed to do, like the Moses laws, but then you also have like the temptations, I think they're called. Lust, gluttony, and greed, and that kind of thing. That's kind of more the influence that I'm referring to. Those are the things you got to be so careful with normalizing, like even with others. If you allow people to sin, then they will eventually like pay the price for it. Anyway, right. So just wanted to address that for a second. I'm kind of glad there's not a lot of animal for it. Not everybody's jumping in like, oh, this and that. And I'm glad of it. The 7 deadly sins. Yeah. But they are kind of separate, aren't they, Clutch? I'm gonna ask you now, because I think you know more about the Bible, as in content-wise, than I do. They are kind of separate, aren't they? Like you have like the tablet from Moses. You have like the laws, like you shall not do this, you shall not do that. But then you have like what you say, the 7 deadly sins. But that's different. Those are like terrible traits a person can have. It's like those things are not easily pinned down legally, right? While Moses' laws are very easily pinned down legally. Moses' laws are really more about the conduct of law. While the 7 deadly sins are like all about seductions. So where are those? Like, are they in the Bible? Or is that from another book? Covered in the 10 Commandments. Is it? Huh. Yes, okay, I get that. But are they like written out? Because yeah, you could now you're using 7 deadly sins and like comparing laws of Moses to them. It's like, oh, this is one of those, this is that. But where is it literally spelled out? Is it spelled out, the 7 deadly sins, in the Bible as well? Or is it a map that people have made to then compare Moses' laws to? No? No what? Nowhere does it say. Okay, so where did that come from then, Clutch? I'm so curious. I mean, is it a priestly development that the priests from medieval times figured out or something? Or where did it come from? Guess I'm just gonna Google it. Ah. Although not directly mentioned in the Bibles. Wow. Where is it then? The classification originated with the Desert Father? What? In the book The Institute's classification Europe. What is... Okay. It says it's actually Egyptian in origin. Huh. Okay, that was a little unexpected. No, it's not. It's not actually taken from the Ten Commandments. Yeah, it isn't. I didn't think so. So it is arguably pagan then, which is fine by me, by the way. It's just from another source that's been grafted in, probably through Catholicism then. Catholicism. They probably grafted it in the priests, as they did with many pagan traditions. This is interesting. I never realized that. It's another hybridization. By the way, I totally called it. I mean, I did start the inquiry. Now I looked it up myself. And yeah. Just goes to show a lot of Christianity is really a big soup. All kinds of stuff that's been poured together. Like, that's basically non-biblical. Right, by the way, I do agree that the 7 deadly sins is a pretty good system. It's like a spiritual system of pitfalls. And it's very effective. So I say, like, yeah, man, great assimilation there. But I mean, technically, it's not in the Bible, though. I mean, it's literally admitted in the second sentence of the Wikipedia. Just trying to be accurate here. What's in the box? Low LSG. What? Seven Hollywood comments? What? 7. Oh, okay. Yeah, so let's poke people in the eye with this title. Samosas. Today's show by Winter. Yeah, a little, I guess. Or would you rather I make the title after the weather, temperatures, or whatever? Because that's the other conversation. No. No, I'm not gonna do that. I don't even know what that is, by the way. Every time people do that, I don't know what it is. Like, you're gonna have to read it, like, spell it out completely, and then I might recognize it. Oh, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Alright. That would make a decent title. But I mean, I'm not, like, really, like, chopping down on Christianity, or I just wanted to point another thing out. Just like, oh yeah. Probably didn't think of that. What the fuck? Why the hell would I do that, Dr. Utger? Like what? Okay, you guys are obviously in a goofy mood. That's fine. I mean, it's summer. Kind of. When is it officially gonna be summer? June? Oh, okay. Wow, didn't know summer started so late. June 21st. Huh. I always felt like, no, summer definitely starts like June 1st or something. Guess not. Goes all the way to September 23rd. Huh. Wow. The jackdaw baby there is like screeching so hard I can even hear it from here. UK summer is July to August. What? No. I mean, you could say the sunny season or whatever, but seasons are 3 months. Right, anyway. We can move on. Still got like 3 minutes left on the show. Is there anything you would like me to address specifically, or are you guys just hanging around in the chat just doing whatever? Fatima. Sounds vaguely familiar. Who's that supposed to be? Or what? Missed QE live yesterday. I missed most of it too. It was kind of a long QE live. I was there in the chat for a bit, but eventually kind of moved on. I don't know. I thought it was good. Probably because there barely was a live show, even though there was a lot of energy, so... 1917 prediction? What? Okay. Okay, Clutch, just come on, just give it to us. What prediction? Oh, okay. So you don't have it. Thought maybe you had a prediction or something? But I guess not. Okay. Seeking Star. Do you know any of the prophecies? So crowded out there. Okay, so you guys are not gonna give me. Oh, great. Oh, prophecies. Yeah, yeah. But you don't know anything then about it. You can't give a single example. Goody. There's some prophecies, but none of you know anything about it. Cool. Let's move on. What? Okay. What's that? Okay, that's a big freaking piece of text. All right. Right. I don't know about that. I don't know how legitimate this thing is. This Fatima prediction thing. I'd have to look deeper into it, which I can't do that. I'd have to like calmly read all of it to make up my mind as to what it really is, but it kind of feels like a really early psyop in a way. Or like sort of a leak. I mean, a lot of plans about what's happening in the world was being pre-planned. I don't know. I'd have to look deeper into it. I'm not gonna do that right now. Thanks for the tip, though. It's an interesting link. Seeking Star Water. Really freaking big. 1959. Wait, is this from 2017 or 1959? Huh. Oh wait, this is... They made the original prediction then, and they've lived for quite a while since. Huh. Right. Anyway, it's too big. Hmm. Hmm. Right. That's what it feels like to me seeing Starwater. And you don't forget the Vatican is basically like a propaganda craft guild. They do that. They've done that earlier than any other organization in the world, pretty much. So when the Vatican gets involved, things become narrative based. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. Man, I seem kind of mellow today. Weird. I was plenty rested. I mean, I didn't go to bed super late or anything. Slept great. I just feel like, I don't know what it is. Right. Hope you guys are still enjoying the show and has been interesting. The Second Vatican? Oh dear. Mystery involved. I mean, that's... Okay, LSG, cool. Hey, Steamy Traveler, good to see you. Man, I think I should. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm gonna have a bowl of greens again. I think if I would be chowing on some greens, I would probably be a lot more active. But yeah, I kind of didn't have any money to buy any. I do now, by the way. Finally. Right, I think I'm gonna be rounding out the show a bit early. I'm not super active. Kind of talked about what I was want to talk about. Not a lot. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty interesting that we're all used to the seven deadly sins, but then when I looked it up, it's as I suspected, it's not actually not biblical. Yet it is literally in the Wikipedia described as part of Christianity. How odd is that? What are my favorite greens? I don't know exactly what they are, but they're small leafed type of thingies of all types. Some purple looking lettuce and green and different shapes, rucola and other things, types of cabbages. I don't even know what it all is. I just know it feels really well once I've eaten it. Yeah, Dell went off on FED yesterday. I know. I asked Adele all the way to the beginning. And now, last 15 minutes. Come on. But yeah, he went completely ballistic. He was so cranky and moody about it. But I mean, Dell's just now like, yeah, it is now just accelerating. He just reified it. Late today. Yep. What was he saying? Well, he was reviewing that show that got kind of bickery with me and Brian and all that. Was it Friday's show? I think so. And he basically like played through it and then just started bickering about it. We don't understand his position, and no, it is accelerating up, and it's just massive reification. Density gradient disappears in freefall. No, it doesn't. It doesn't disappear in freefall. would have to go a little faster than free fall to actually disappear. And it doesn't disappear either, it's just neutralized. Just becomes minimized, and then if you accelerate it even more, then it becomes negative, and then the axis starts to manifest. The density axis, it starts to manifest in a reversed order. Now suddenly the less dense are ordering themselves at the bottom, and the more dense things at the top, because it's going faster. It's accelerating faster than slightly faster than falling rate. So this axial density, the density axis shifts. But he's claiming that, oh, it disappears in free fall. No, it doesn't. Because free fall is not enough to neutralize it. It has to go just a little bit faster. In free fall in a vacuum might do it. But yes, definitely that's not what is typically considered free fall. Right? And if I talked about that like even on FED show. I was mentioning it there. From Monday. On the live show. Would free fall be considered a naturally occurring phenomenon? Well, it's not just free fall, though. Right? And like a bottle of water is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. But for example, a waterfall would be. It's literally a medium that can contain objects of different densities and material dissolved in the water, etc., sand, whatever. And then it free falls, all that material free falls. So there is a potential naturally occurring medium falling. You can actually make that into a natural phenomenon. But yeah, a water bottle is not going to do it. Right? So yeah, in free fall, yeah, the relative density axis, the way the density orders itself, it doesn't become neutral. It becomes almost neutral. It doesn't reach full neutrality because there's friction. There's air friction. The air friction also eventually, with long enough distance, creates a maximum velocity within the fall. Right? While technically, if a thing would fall in a vacuum, the acceleration would keep steady and the actual speed would keep increasing. That doesn't happen in the realm if you drop something at a long distance, because eventually the air friction will counter that acceleration and keep it a maximum velocity. And something falling in a maximum velocity does not neutralize the density axis. It would have to continually accelerate. Terminal velocity, sure. Are you moving faster than free fall in the vomit comet? Yes. why density tower falls apart in free fall? Because the apparent force factor, which could be presupposed to cause the relative density situation in the realm, it becomes neutralized by the force of the acceleration. And then relative density becomes neutralized. Because, the forces add up and then it's neutralized. And if you add even more force to it, downward, because it's forced to accelerate further down, faster down than normal acceleration rate, well, then the axis will re-emerge. Density axis will re-emerge within that medium and order itself in reverse, upside down. Terminal velocity. Yeah, that's what we were saying, Steamer Traveler. Yeah, terminal velocity is what I said, maximum velocity. But it's not enough to neutralize the density axis. You'd have to go faster. And in order to do that, you need to overcome air resistance. Push it a little further. No, you're incorrect, Kumovaris. The vomit comet is not free fall, it has to actually dive. It's slightly faster than free fall. Right, anyhow, I'm gonna run out the show, guys. Please, next time, show up a little earlier. I don't want to have all the discussions in the last 15 minutes. I've been, kind of not saying a lot the first hour. It would be great if you showed up a little earlier. I'd love to have this kind of conversation at the beginning of my show, not in the last 15 minutes. Right, so thanks everyone for coming. I hope you liked this show. It was definitely mellow, right? So if you liked it, then please don't forget to Rogan's it up. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so you know when I'm going live, which is normally 1 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekdays and 2 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekend. And please also do support me through the PayPal and the Patreon. That'll be much appreciated, and I can always use the support, so please keep it coming. That'll be much appreciated. Right, so I'll be back tomorrow with Flat Earth Early Bird number 1611 on a Thursday, and I'm going to join the Flat Earth debates over at Nathan Oakley 9080 channel, which should start up in just a few minutes from now. Hope to see you there in the chat, and until the next video, keep it flat.